We had two nice winners to start us off, and we're heating up. We're going to talk college football. First, before we start, let's review our futures recap of last week, and then we'll swing right into our bets that we've won, and then we're going to attack some college football. What do you say, David?
That sounds good to me. And go with the ones that you think are going to be overs for or give the overs and your unders for the upcoming NFL season on the futures bets, and then I'll give you mine.
Yeah, a little recap. And the majority are unders. Sorry, boys. Giants and Jets, I'm going under. Giants 6.5 minus 135. My Vikings going under 6.5 games plus 120. The Commanders, 6.5 games under plus 110. Jets, Jets, 10.5. I'm laying 145, but 10.5 minus 10.5. My only positive, Baker Mayfield, MVP, Tampa Bay, more than 7.5 plus 115. Yes, I know I'm a believer, but the Giants should have drafted him years ago. Don't get me going on that.
Florida guys stick together.
Jake, give me a recap.
Good luck with that. I'm looking at overs are going to be Chargers, Patriots, and Saints for various reasons that we discussed last week. And my unders, and this is no offense to the entire state of Pennsylvania, but I'm going under with the Steelers and the Eagles. And I didn't get around to talking about another overrated team, I believe, coming into the season is Houston. So those, I got 3 overs and 3 unders.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about Houston, and I think we're going to be analyzing that spread and then being overrated when we get to the NFL. But let's go through. Hey, what's our record? We opened up pretty well. We got out of the gate well.
Yeah, we didn't have a lot going on last week. That's why we did the futures for the NFL season. But we had a few college games, and we picked the Thursday night game between Colorado and North Dakota State, and we pretty much nailed it. Looked at it in a close game that the line was inflated. A lot of money on Colorado in that spot, and I love the Buffaloes. I went to school there, but I was afraid of this game, and not just because I'm paranoid. I really thought that these two teams on paper matched up pretty well against one another, and North Dakota State, they moved the ball a lot. Our defense is pathetic. Our defense, Colorado's defense, their season is not going to be. I heard a guy in Vegas put a $10,000 bet on Colorado to win the Big 12, 25-1. I wish he'd have just given me the 10 grand because he gave it to wherever he laid that bet. That money is theirs. They aren't winning that conference.
Well, we watched a lot of Division II football last year. We followed a lot of the smaller conferences. We knew about both Dakotas, North Dakota and South Dakota State. This is a tough team. Yeah, they're good offense, good coaching, discipline, kids playing for the love of the game, not the NIL.
Not as many.
Having said that, yeah, I was afraid from the first drive. The speed of Buffalo. I'm sorry, the speed of the Buffaloes, the speed of Colorado. But yeah, they made a lot of mental errors on D. And now, we're going to be talking about everybody going against Colorado now when we're going, they're playing Nebraska. So we're going to be talking about that spread. But we called it, and very well done, Grasshopper.
Yeah, that was, I don't know. That game looked kind of obvious to me. But anyway, good to get off to a good start. And for a little while there, it looked like we were going to need every one of the points that they were giving us.
No doubt. I mean, they were still trying to ruin our spread there in the fourth quarter, late in the fourth quarter.
I was kicking myself for not middling that game. And in the second quarter when I could have gotten Buffalo's minus 1.5, I was already getting 11.5. Could have had an easy middle. Didn't do it, so missed opportunity there. But next time I'll get them on that. Our other game happened to be a English Premier League soccer game, and just kind of looked at it as the home team in Arsenal being a little bit overvalued. and that Brighton could give them a good game. Now we might have gotten a little fortunate. Arsenal picked up a red card, so they're playing down a man for quite a bit of large part of the game. But we got the tie, so we got a nice plus on that. It was over 300, over plus 300. So good start there too.
Beautiful. Our soccer Svengoolie, Dave from somewhere deep in the bowels of Jersey. Well, what's happening with the Premier League? Are they on a pause or what's going on?
Yeah, they take these breaks. It's one of the annoying things about the top leagues of European soccer is they take these breaks for these international competitions and the competitions between the clubs from different countries. And don't get me wrong, I mean, like Champions League games where you have the top clubs in the world playing each other, that's fantastic. But it does seem a little silly that they just started their seasons.
Right. They were just getting hot. I mean, come on, Looney.
3 games.
I'm hot.
And it's not like they're taking a weekend off or something. They're taking 2 weeks off.
I know. I know. I could see you sweating right there through the phone. You're begging to get back into kickball because you are.
We got a little going on,
Maestro.
The reason they're taking the break is because they have the Nations League,
the
CONCACAF here in the Western Hemisphere, which I'm not as keyed into as I am in the European soccer. But anyway, they have these Nation Leagues games. Some interesting matchups this week, even. In fact, Saturday, your old sod, Ireland, going up against the Limeys. And
we're going against the Limeys. We're going to kick them out of Ireland, finally.
Yeah.
But we've been weak. The spreads are heavy. But I think you got another game there in mind. I know you're rubbing the crystal ball, the soccer crystal ball. Are you going to delve into that now, or are you going to wait?
Yeah, we might as well get it out of the way first. Most people want to hear about football anyway. But looking at a couple of games that I think might be a little bit closer than people anticipate. One of them is tomorrow, and that is Serbia against Spain. I think Serbia at home can give them a little bit of a tussle, hopefully hang in there for long enough to salvage some sort of close game. I might even have to take a look at them plus a goal and a half and see if the price.
What's the line for the draw for Serbia Spain?
I don't even remember. I don't even have it up right now. I know it was like plus 3 something. They're plus at home.
Plus 350. Yeah,
they're like
nice.
They're like a 5-1 dog to win the game, and it's 300 on the draw. And then Spain is minus 200.
You could get 350 on DraftKings on that draw. No,
a road game like this, Spain is the best team in Europe. I mean,
yes,
nobody has any illusions about that.
But the Serbs played well in the Euro Cup. Agreed?
I think a lot of the Eastern European teams do. I think that they're a little bit underrated. Everybody's familiar with the the Western European teams, but those guys are good, and a lot of them play in the top leagues. You see them on almost every team.
Yes, true.
Premier League, Serie A.
Not just in.
They've got Eastern European guys all over the place. So I think home game, first game out of the blocks. Obviously these teams haven't been practicing together. I think they can give them a run for their money. And if they don't, we're not going to be putting the mortgage on it. Just a nice little bet to make it interesting. Take Serbia at home.
Just a little taste. Don't go out.
Obviously, we're going to be rooting for the underdog to play well, play tough.
All right, so that's Serbia plus 350 draw. We'll be keeping our eyes on that. Let's get right into college football. We're 1-0 more or less. I know I did pretty well this weekend.
We had a bunch of winners.
I know. I wanted to talk to you first about the LSU game, LSU USC. You are on the right side of that. The world was on LSU, including myself. But it seems like this coach is a little confused on the sidelines.
I never liked him. I didn't like him when he was in Cincinnati. I didn't like him when he was at Notre Dame. I don't like him when he's at LSU. I just don't like him. They have talent. Obviously, it's a talented team. That looked like a typical first game. They got to shake some of the rust off. They got a lot of things they have to work on. and the fact that it looked to me like USC is being sort of underrated there a little bit. They got speed. They
A
have
little
skill
bit, a little
guys.
bit.
Yeah, I mean, they look like the better team to me. So, um, we'll see what happens with them going forward. It's going to be interesting for SC and being in the Big Ten now with just a crazy schedule, long road trips. Going to be
I
tough.
mean, he constantly loses his first game, and a little
Oh
pissed
yeah,
off that he
yeah.
threw his
I think
quarterback
that's three
underneath the
years in a
bus
row.
there.
Yeah.
Let me get a point in there, and you know, you don't throw your quarterback under the bus by a young kid by saying he was outplayed by the other quarterback. The out coaching, yeah. I mean, I think you mentioned during the game that he looked confused. He has that confused look on his face. It was an interesting weekend for coaches. What about that coach in FSU? What happened over there against BC?
Well, they were just run off the field. I mean, that you could have understood it if the uniforms had been reversed. If the big top 10 team and the monster program was just running all over Boston College, but not the reverse. But even other things like BC's quarterback looked more athletic to me
No doubt.
than the Florida State guy. I mean, he looked terrific, and I've seen Boston College have some moments in the last couple of years, and some with that kid playing quarterback for them. Obviously, they have a good coach, O'Brien. He did his pro thing there for a while. Now he's back where he belongs, I think, in college. Maybe they're going to have a surprisingly good season, but that was a very one-sided game. I mean, they just trampled them.
Yeah, there's something in common that I've seen that this Florida State defense sure made the Georgia Tech quarterback look good and the BC quarterback look good. So we're going to see in games 2, games 3 about those teams, what they're really like. What is it with Sanders? What's his name? Coach Prime. This guy, Mike Norwell, is Coach Cry. Did you hear him crying?
Yeah.
Blaming himself. Sorry. I thought that was Karen. What did you do? Sorry.
But the Florida State fans, they didn't even look to me like they were crying. They were just walking out the gates, and they just looked bored. That game was dull. Their team gave them nothing to get excited about.
They really did.
Early, and they stayed there.
But they're done. Really your coach is basically given up. He's crying on stage. He's pulling a Dick Vermeil syndrome. And no, it was embarrassing, for Florida State's fans. They start cheering for the backup quarterback. They're not happy of the $4 million that they paid the starter. So right out of the gate, a lot of drama, a lot of turmoil. 17-point underdog wins. That would have been a nice money line right there. But we were both on that one. Jay, let's jump right into the NCAA picks. Who you liking to start off? Any Friday night games, Saturday? Who do you like in the NCAA this weekend?
I wasn't really looking at the Friday night games with a whole lot of interest. Maybe you were. Go ahead.
Yes, I was. Indeed. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll swing right in front of you there. We're starting out on Friday night. We're starting out with the battle of the IQs. The Duke Blue Devils visiting Northwestern. I think we visited that campus a few times there in Evanston, Illinois, right on the shores of Lake Michigan.
McGillicuddy's or whatever it was up there.
No, that was Biddy Mulligan's. Biddy Mulligan's, good Irish bar, great blues, good mix, blues and Irish, and blood and a little bit of sweat. But saw BB King up there. Couple of woo-woo. But no, Duke has Northwestern's number. They've won the last 5 meetings. It's a sneaky small spread, So I love Duke. And I'll take the 2.5, and we're going to start that out. That's going to be my first one. And you, my good friend?
Oh, I like that pick. I don't probably do something with it. Take Duke. Always go with a trend, never against one. And that trend is 5 in a row, buddy. So keep playing Duke in that series until they lose.
as a Giant fan, Duke has not been so nice to me, but we can beat Northwestern. Smart kids, but their football program a little bit slow right now. So I'm starting out with the Dukies. Who are you looking at on Saturday?
First game. The first game is probably the most interesting game of the day. I get it. Michigan's got lots of problems. I've talked to a few people who love Texas in this game.
Boy, the world.
I'm not gonna. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I'm looking the other
No
way.
doubt, no doubt.
I'm just taking a very simplistic approach to this game. Michigan at home getting a touchdown. Thank you. I'll take it. I don't care who they're playing. So.
Well, no, you had some great stats. We were talking stats because I'm going the other direction. I made my decision, and I don't know about this strategy, but I made my decision while I was watching Michigan against Fresno State.
Yeah,
I mean, Michigan's offense, they really have problems finishing drives. I know this is last year's champions. They went 15-0 last year, but their 9 possessions turned into just kind of 4 quality drives. And 3 of those, they had to depend on field goals, long field goals. Texas has got a D, bro, and they're tough and they explode in offense. I know it's a hard place to play, but I look them to manhandle, Michigan. I really do.
I'm sticking with the Wolverines.
All right. Well, that's my second pick. I got the Dukies. I got the Longhorns. You're going with the Wolverines. What's your second pick there, my brother?
Looking at Syracuse. Looking at Syracuse at home. I actually watched them play a little bit last week against my beloved Ohio Bobcats. Syracuse did some things well in that game, other things not so well. But I'm seeing this line not where it ought to be. With Syracuse in this game, primarily because of what Georgia Tech did with Florida State, which now I ain't all that impressed with. After seeing BC take them apart on their home field, Georgia Tech won a close game on a neutral site, and I was not totally surprised by that either. I like Georgia Tech in that game, but I do not like them in this one. I like Syracuse.
Well, this is kind of like what the last thing you've seen, the big Georgia Tech. They made the big upset, which is turning out not to be an upset. And it looks like they're, that line's a little inflated. Tough to play in, is it still the Carrier Dome up there in the Q's?
Brutal place to play.
No doubt about it, So that's 2.5. I don't know if we neglected to mention I got Texas at 4.5, but in some books right now, it's up to 7.5. Some serious steam going on the Longhorns. So you're going the contrarian in both. I like that.
Generally speaking, that is an approach that used to work a hell of a lot better, but I still sort of gravitate towards the teams that nobody loves, the teams that aren't getting any love, but I think should be. And in this case,
well, we're here to give love, but mostly yes, to make money. We're learning to give love and receive love, and I don't think Buffalo, the University of Buffalo, is going to receive much love. Because I'm taking Missouri minus 34.5. I never take these monster spreads, but Missouri held their defense is tough. They held their first opponent to 85 yards, 50 plays. It's going to be a bloodbath. To make matters worse, the Buffalo, their pass defense, I think, is in the bottom 40 of the NCAA. Anyway, I'm looking at Missouri minus 34.5 as my third pick. I know you're going to give me some abuse, saying that all you need is a touchdown. If I score 8 touchdowns, but I think this is a 50-point game, 50-3, 50-6. There's going to be blood, Missouri, the Redlegs. Just ask Clint. There's blood.
The show me state, huh?
That's
well, they're
right.
gonna have to show me. They're gonna have to show me a little bit more than one game in order to get me to have them lay 34.
All right, you seem to
doesn't matter what they do. I'm not gonna
Missouri
not gonna
Tigers. No love for the Missouri Tigers from New Jersey. All right, Doctor. Anything else on the college front?
I'm after really being afraid of Colorado in their first game against an underrated North Dakota State team. Now everybody hates them. Now everybody who burned their money on them, all of a sudden they're all flying on Nebraska. So I'll take Colorado against Nebraska. I don't understand that line at all. I think,
buddy, I agree with you. 100%.
I think Colorado should be favored in this game.
Exactly.
So,
7.5 you can get in some books. The DraftKings line is 7 at the moment, but no doubt about it. That's an overreaction. Colorado did not play bad. They played against a good team is what they did. And I don't think Nebraska is up for this. So take the 7. I agree. Even if you got to play in the Corn Belt there, I definitely think that's an overreaction. I'm with you on that one. All right, my brother. I think that wraps up the NCAA. We'll go over, we'll review everything before we move on to the NFL. Any more comments about what you saw, regarding college football?
Yeah. I was just mortified by the officiating. And it's like, you look forward to football season so much. And, we haven't had a meaningful game in college since January. We finally get out there on the field. It happens to be, one of the first games on Thursday night is my school. And then we see every other play with a screw up by the officials. They're too old. They're too slow. They can't keep up with the speed of the game. It's really frustrating to me. I'm sure it's frustrating to everybody who puts money on these games. And, it's important. We have a vested interest in them. So it's not that we're just, we're not just watching with our hearts. We're also watching with our wallets. And these guys are atrocious. The worst thing to me is the constant review. They review practically every play, practically every pass play in college now gets reviewed. Did he have possession? This and that. All this. It's ridiculous. And then when they review it for 5 or 10 minutes, and then they still get it wrong after, taking a break. I can understand why people from other countries wonder why we are so into this sport when it has so much downtime. And they got to do something about it. They have to do something about the officiating, because to me, this first weekend, it don't look like it's getting any better.
Well, make them professionals for I agree with what you were saying before. Make them travel to and officiate pros, college, any level, just so they're professionals. They're going from game to game to game. The more experience, the better. Because they're so out of place. And we witnessed that one spot that was so clearly mismarked went in our favor. I think that was the North Dakota State game. And they watched it and looked at it and reviewed it and still got it wrong. But there were wrestling matches. There were push and shoves with the balls in the air. There were some problems on the college level. We're going to see how that affects,
Don't get me, you're going to see it in the pros too. So don't just think that it's only a problem in the college game, although I think it's worse. I don't think they address the replays properly. There's far too many of them in college.
Well, and maybe not enough refs, I mean, there's a lot of games, a lot. I don't know what they're paying the refs these days, but
it looks like volunteer work is what it looks like. It looks like they're doing community service.
You could be right. You could be correct.
No, I'm not.
All right, let's do a service. I might not have to call on you to do a service, but do me a favor. do a service.
All right. You're getting a
NFL,
couple of
brother.
movie
Our
quotes in there
NFL
already
starts
today.
this Thursday. I have to admit, by mostly pure luck and taking the dogs, especially 6.5 points or more, I did well in the NFL preseason, but that means nothing right now. So I know we're going head to head on Thursday. Let me hear what you got for Thursday night's kickoff
I
special.
don't see
Give it
how
to me.
anybody, again, this is an overly simplistic approach, but I don't see how you can go against John Harbaugh and the Baltimore Ravens in their opening game. They're unbelievable. I mean, it defies all logic. Yes, they consistently have good teams, but to always win your opening game is just statistically almost impossible, but they managed to do it. And I'm not going against them here. I think a little bit of Super Bowl hangover, and we'll have a little bit more to talk about that as far as the team that lost the Super Bowl. But in this case, I'm going with my buddy John Harbaugh and those Baltimore Ravens with a apparently a slimmed down quarterback. Apparently, he lost a little bit of weight. I didn't think he was in terrible shape to begin with, but
Is that right? I did
he
not hear
lost some
that.
weight.
I did not
Yeah,
know that.
and they were saying that that could have been contributed to him getting hurt all the time. Is that he's carrying too much weight? So
All
anyway, he
right.
drops weight. Maybe he'll be even a little more elusive, which would be great for Baltimore.
Couple less.
They picked up Derrick Henry. I know you might be, maybe you think he's shot. I don't know. I
I
had him
did
a
not
few
say
times
shot.
last year on
No,
fantasy.
I'm shot. You're
Fantasy.
shot. Derrick Henry,
Still,
no, he's not shot. No,
okay.
I'm taking it.
I heard
Those
somebody say that.
all
Must
valid.
have been
All that,
somebody else.
Baltimore is so strong coming out of the gate. Toughest D. It got great offense. They're exciting. We had them last year. You kidding me? Me and you, we both had them. A
And
couple of drop
KC with
passes.
some of these KC with some of these slow starts in recent years where people are like,
Yeah.
oh, what's wrong with Kansas City? Then they get hot and they win the Super Bowl. But, I see another a semi-slow start. At least
Well,
this is a tough team to draw.
No doubt. And vice versa,
Yeah. Yeah, tough for Baltimore too.
I see a little different Kansas City this year. Not even better than last year. I just see a little bit more seriousness. I mean, you're opening up in Arrowhead, You got the ghosts of Lenny Dawson, Willie Lanier, Jan Stenerud kicking there, number 3. They're also pretty strong
And
in openers
Podolak.
myself, bro. They're also pretty strong in openers at home. You give Andy Reid all summer to study your team. 3 out of the best 5 offensive linemen, are on the Chiefs. They draft this guy, Xavier Worthy. He stretches out the field. You got a great weapon there. And the Chiefs D, the Spagnoli special, he's an ex-Giant. I know the Spagnoli special is stopping the run. And they did it last year. I don't see any big change. You say he's lost some weight, but I don't see Lamar getting any faster. And, I love Derrick Henry. He's a stud, but he could be more like John Henry than Derrick Henry. A little long in the tooth and running,
That's what I saw. Yeah, that's what I saw. Somebody sent me a text where they compared him to an old war horse. But a war horse he is.
Yes, he is.
A better team.
No, and you know what, brother? That's going to be the difference. It's 3 points. So obviously, there's respect there. It's a 3-point game. It's a toss-up, and that's going to be it. The Chiefs stop the run game, and it's their game. If the Ravens are running, they're winning. So, but I got the Chiefs at home, and then giving 3. You're taking the 3. I'm giving the 3, and let's head down to San Paulo in Brazil, donde habla portugués, no español. But who you liking down in San Paulo against what do we got? We got Green Bay and your beloved Eagles. We know you love those guys.
I think it's going to be a long year for the Eagles. And I like Green Bay's quarterback. I liked him when he first started, filling in for Rodgers. Took his lumps like a lot of them do, but I like him. And I think it's kind of interesting. It's sort of like a weakness of the team last year sort of inexperienced receivers and an inexperienced quarterback. Well, now they have a little bit more experience, and I think that's going to be a strength of the team. And I think, man, the season for the Eagles last year, they shouldn't have even made the playoffs and gotten embarrassed the way they did in that playoff game against Tampa Bay, because they easily could have missed the playoffs. They had a little run of games before they went on their terrible, losing streak where they lost like 6 out of 7. They had 4 games leading up to that streak where they pulled games out of their ass. Okay, and
You are correct, sir.
the season could have been a lot worse.
Yeah,
and
and
talk about a Super Bowl hangover. Wow, that team just didn't even look like the same team last year. Lost to the Jets.
No, you're right. The season could have been a lot worse. And on the opposite side, it could have been a lot better for Green Bay. I mean, they look good, and they could have been better. You're right.
I like Green Bay here.
Yeah, me too. Plus 2.5 for all the reasons you said. Tough D, good special teams, really well coached. And the Eagles are still full of a lot of questions. It comes down to Hurts, to me. If if they can control Hurts running and passing, the game will be theirs. Could be a blowout in Sao Paulo. So we're going to have to see what's going on in Brazil. I'd love to do that in person. All right. I'm heading toward just across the peninsula here over to Tampa Bay, and I'm going to give 3 points. Baker Mayfield is facing the upstart Washington Commodores. In my opinion, one of them, they're out of the gate, they're overrated. They think, this guy, this quarterback Daniels can turn them into, Eastern Division champions. It's not going to happen. And it's definitely not going to happen in the opener. Mayfield, to me, is an MVP candidate. We're given 3 against a team that was last in yardage surrendered last year, last in points per games allowed. Daniels, exciting quarterback, but Tampa Bay defense is not too bad as well. They got kind of a bend don't break defense. Anyway, I'm taking Tampa minus 3.5. Baker's my boy.
I hesitate to ask if Tampa Bay gets off to a bad start, are you going to be like watching more European football than American football? Is that what's going to happen to you? You really seem to you're really invested in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Fine.
And look who else they got. What do they got? The East. They don't have a hard schedule. Even their totals is only 7.5. Okay, they destroyed your Eagles in the playoffs. They should have, and they did. But they almost beat Detroit. They had a shot at beating Detroit. They were an interception in the fourth quarter away of beating Detroit and advancing to beat San Francisco. I don't know. It's not a big division. It's not a hard conference. The NFC.
That's why I kind of like New Orleans.
Yeah, I know you're leaning toward New Orleans. So we're going to be going head to head through the season with Nolans and Tampa. Much better Blues and jambalaya against a couple of blondes or I guess mostly Latinos now going on in Tampa. But it's beautiful. All beautiful.
Cousins will get hurt on Atlanta. Who's the backup for Atlanta? Well, he's going to be playing. Almost guaranteed. Anyway,
no doubt about that. I'm with you 100%. All right, what's your next pick in the NFL?
All right. Well, I hate to go with another contrarian play, but there is an awful lot of action on the Houston Texans this week. They are getting pounded at the windows. And this is the NFL. These road games, especially division road games, ain't that easy. So I like Indianapolis Colts.
They're going to Indianapolis. Only a 3-point favorite. So you're looking at the Colts.
Yep. Taking the Colts just because unless the books are printing money, which they might be, it seems they make more mistakes than they used to. Like the Super Bowl, excuse me. But unless they're printing money, you got 85% of the bets going on Houston right now. I'll take my shot with a small home dog. I'll take Indy.
Well, they're the popular team, aren't they?
Yeah. Oh,
Houston. I mean,
Houston. Yeah, they're everybody loves them.
yeah, they kind of had like a season like the Giants 2 years ago, the big surprise. Although they're much more powerful. I'm not trying to compare the two. They're great, but yeah, they're a little bit overrated. And the Colts are overlooked. The Colts are tough. They got a tough defense,
And
good quarterback, well coached again. But you're right, very hard to win on the
it
road.
doesn't
Looks
pay
like
to
a
fall in
setup
love with
game,
a team.
Looks a little sneaky that only 3 points. I thought Texas was going to be so tough.
Doesn't pay to fall in love with teams in the NFL these days because I was on Houston crazily last year. I was on them every week for the middle of the season with Stroud playing so well. The team scoring a lot of points, making the playoffs. But I don't see that much improvement this year. And I think all of a sudden now they're a road favorite against a pretty decent club. So I like Indy. Who's up now?
All
You go.
right. I'm looking at in the same vein where preseason, I'm talking about Washington being a new team, and you're talking about Houston being a little bit overrated. What about the Bears? The Bears are favored coming out of the blocks. I mean, Tennessee's a good team. I'll take 4.5, no problem. This spread, I think it's, what is it? The fourth time the Bears have laid more than a field goal in the past 4 seasons.
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
haven't been laying a lot of points.
no, give me a break.
And I like Tennessee. I like that quarterback.
Exactly. No, Will Levis is great.
Play?
He surrounded himself. He's got a ton of young guys. There's a whole bunch of guys on Tennessee you haven't heard of. Include their coach. What's that guy? Callahan, Brian Callahan. And Levis is going to bloom. He's not going to be great. A lot of mistakes, but the Bears. There's a lot of growing pains to go through. They're not going to come out the gate this wonder team, and I'll take the 4.5, no problem. So my fourth pick is Tennessee heading into Chicago, Soldier Field again, right on the lake, and I'm liking the Titans. And yourself, lad, where are you going from here?
You're not scared of the Bears at home, huh?
The Bears.
They got that magic bean down there in Grant Park. The bean.
That's right. I don't know. I must have missed the beam. We didn't spend much time.
It wasn't there when you looked at it. It's relatively
in Grant Park. We spent a lot of time in Lincoln Park. Yeah. There's more Irish bars in Lincoln Park than Grant Park. Grant Park, good concerts. Taste of Chicago, awesome. Yeah. Great jazz fest, blues fest. But Lincoln Park is where we ended up and closing most bars. Sorry.
Well,
all right, the Bears.
I'm taking a long look at your New York Football Giants, but can't pull the trigger. So I'm
against the mighty Vikings. Hey, Sam Darnold has the lowest QB rating in all the teams, lower than Danny Dimes, the Duker.
Well, he didn't do my Jets any favors when he played for us.
No, he didn't. So you're not going to pull the trigger on the Giants. Where are you going from here, lad?
Here I'm going down to the Bayou. I'm going with those New Orleans Saints. I mean,
the Saints.
I know. All right. Granted, Carolina, well, they can't be worse than they were last year, I don't think. But it ain't going to be a hell of a lot better either. And I like New Orleans D.
Why is that spread so low, -4? What is going on?
I have no idea. It's a little scary to me. I'm going to go with that one lightly.
It looks a little too obvious. No, I like it too. The Saints defense was tough. Carr is going to wake up sometime. I mean, the family gene has to kick in sometime.
The family gene has been just good enough to lose. That's what my friend used to say about Steve DeBerg. He stayed in the NFL because he was just good enough to lose NFL games.
Yeah, he's had, some decent teams around him. Not the best, but he's been in a position to.
Good receivers on that New Orleans team, though.
Yeah.
He's got some guys.
Well,
So
I agree. And an unknown entity. Well, an unknown team. The problem is, what I see is this is a nice spread because we already know what we're getting with Carolina. I don't see much improvement. This is a team that was terrible last year. You think their offense is going to improve that much against a tough
no.
New Orleans D? I don't think so. I don't really have so much confidence in this QB. Um, you know, that's not one of my picks, but I see it, and it's sneaky small. But I don't think the books know what they're doing anyway. I think they're just kind of taking a stabs. Look at all these spreads:
Don't go there.
minus
Don't go
four,
there.
minus three, three and a
They'll
half,
bite you.
1.5.
If we knew more than them, we'd just be sitting around counting our money, not
You got that right.
pulling our hair out of us, trying to beat these
All right,
guys.
David. I think we got one more game, and
It happens to be
as we're wont to
Monday
do
night.
sometimes, the two of us, we going head to head. Why don't you tell me? Why don't you convince me about your green? Why don't you tell me what's going on in the first Monday night game of this 2024 season?
I've heard nothing but we get a lot of attention paid to the Jets around here. We get a lot of attention paid to Aaron Rodgers. They are talking about him that in practices, obviously he didn't play in the preseason games, but in practices that he has been phenomenal, that he's got his head on right, that he's ready to go. Hopefully they got a little bit more protection for him on that offensive line. He's going to need it. One of the biggest things here is again, I'm looking at a little bit of Super Bowl hangover, and in this case, it's the losing team in the Super Bowl. The last 24 opening days for the Super Bowl loser, they are 5-19 against the spread.
Ouch.
That's really bad for those of you who are keeping score. 5-19 against the line. They're laying a handful, which I just think is, well, no, the Jets are getting played here because a lot of people anticipating that they're going to be a playoff team this year with Aaron Rodgers. I think they could be. I don't think that's being unreasonable. We have some really solid players on defense. We got a ton of good skill position players. If we can keep the quarterback healthy, we should make the playoffs. Because you know what? You don't have to be that good to make the playoffs in the NFL anymore.
That's right. You got 17 games to do it.
Just be decent and stay healthy, and you better make it. Otherwise, everybody should get fired.
But
so I'm
apparently
looking at
not Robert Saleh. He gets away with these subpar seasons.
And
I won't torture you with any
overrated
statistics. I promise. But you can get the Jets at +4. It's actually coming down. I think it opened at 5. But right now, you can get San Francisco at -4, which is the direction I'm going.
What I saw was a little more action on the Jets than on the Niners.
Yes, I've seen that. But hey, brother, Kyle Shanahan at home versus his former defensive coordinator with a spread, under 6. I'm all on him.
Well, he pissed that Super Bowl away. He pissed that Super Bowl away. Maybe he can piss this Monday night game away for it. Meatball.
Hey, look, we're at home where they have 15 double-digit wins in their last 21 games. They came out flying last year. They kicked the shit out of the Steelers. I just see, I see rusty old Aaron, and I see a fluid offensive machine. I think, especially in the first half, 49ers are going to come out pumping. I mean, I'm not buying all the hype. I love the story of Aaron Rodgers. I love it. But and I know the prince here of the trends about the Super Bowl hangover. But, San Francisco is hungry to prove themselves. I think they're built a little bit different. And they got to do it this year. This is Purdy's last year in his contract. 40-year-old Aaron. I'm liking San Francisco at home. And we're going head-to-head on that one. San Francisco -4 is my pick. +4 for the Jets for Serpico over there.
Easy money. Green equals green on Monday night.
All right, we're going to see. It should be some fun at Candlestick. So let's do a little recap here. Miami, Dave, I'm liking after going 2-0. College football, I'm liking Duke +3, Texas -4.5, Missouri -34.5. And I agree with you, my friend, my Swami. Colorado getting a touchdown, 7 points in college.
All right. And I missed one on college that we didn't talk about. I'm kind of looking at NC State against Tennessee. They're at
NC
home.
State against the Vols. Where are they playing? They playing
NC State's home. They're getting more than a touchdown. I like them. So I'm looking at Michigan. We're going head to head on that one. Michigan versus Texas. I'm looking at Syracuse. I think you kind of were on board with that one with me.
And you're getting 2.5, right?
Over Georgia Tech, yes. NC State is one that I missed, but anyway, I think they can hang in there with Tennessee. And then Colorado, we are on board with the Buffs against
Okay.
those Huskers.
We're hot together. We got to say that right out the bat. When we bet together, we've been hot, but we're going all over the place. Why don't you take me right into the NFL? Recap your picks.
All right. I am looking at Baltimore on the opener on Thursday night. I know you are looking at your Chiefs, and I can't blame you. That team, that coach, that quarterback. Yeah. They've been pretty good here for a little while. Pretty good. Friday night, though, we're both on board with the Green Bay Packers down there in South America. A little bit of a change from Door County, Wisconsin, but anyway.
That's right.
Really like Green Bay there. I think the
Eagles stick to the paella. They should be all right.
Eagles fans are going to be watching video of that Super Bowl probably for the next few years because that's all they're going to have to hang their head on.
No, fly, Eagles, fly. I take it.
No. On the road to victory, not on Friday. Then I'm going with my Indianapolis Colts, just kind of as a contrarian play against the very popular Houston boys.
All right, you're getting 3 points at home there.
Yeah. I like a little home dog when I can get one.
Nice home dog.
Also looking at my New Orleans Saints, not quite sure why they are not a little bit of a bigger favorite.
Who's that?
Carolina.
Yeah, they need Tom Denson doing the dance. Yeah, -4 is tricky.
If it comes down to a field goal, I lose. So I don't want that to happen.
Hey, Carr can explode at any minute, one thing. And against the Carolina defense, a little bit porous.
Sure.
But that's not one of my bets, but I tend to agree with you. I'm open up against the Chiefs, -3. Tennessee going into Chicago for a little pizza, +4.5. Tampa Bay breezing against Washington, and San Francisco taking advantage of poor Aaron, who won't be able to do what the ex-Jet quarterback did, running right, running left. Aaron's just going to have to take it on the chin. So, and I agree with you also with Green Bay. Jordan Love's not going to have to do that much in Sao Paulo because I think the Pack is going to run all over him. And if the Deke takes care of Jalen, I think they should win the game. Could be a money line bet, but I'll take the 2.5. No problem. All right, those are our picks. Anything closing? Anything you want to mention about some of the sports? Or I know you got some U.S. Open picks that are live. Who do you like to win? Any of the Americans? You're looking at maybe a long shot to maybe win, to getting a chance to win the U.S. Open.
Well, I kind of like the German guy here in this match. It looks like he's going down. I think he might have already lost.
Yeah, I think Skinner.
Sinner's serving for the match here. So
exactly.
Anyway, hey, he won a set. This fourth set was close. It's not over, but no. Sinner is right now. He's serving for the match. My Pagula girl, she won for me tonight.
She looks fantastic.
She won.
I mean, you can get some numbers out there. We're not going to see you till next week. But I would take a flyer on Tyler Fritz. I think, you can get some odds on him to win. I think Skinner's a little bit vulnerable now, and it's going to be awesome in the U.S.
Yeah,
Open.
well, he's got to get past Diafo first, but
yeah, no doubt about it.
I might give Oh,
He's
Fritz,
5-1 the
Fritz
last
Canto.
6, but anything can happen. You're right. The guy's, physically incredible, but should be fun to watch. I know you're on a little bit of a hot streak in the U.S. Open. I thought you might have had a minor vibe on something for the
I
future,
did.
didn't you?
I had a couple today. They worked
All
out pretty
right.
well. So happy. Happy.
And don't forget your Serbia at plus
Sure.
350, and that takes place on Saturday. Am I correct?
No. That's tomorrow. That's tomorrow.
Okay.
Saturday is the Ireland England game, which
Ireland, England. I'm
because
staying off of that. I'm keeping.
Three guys on
Yeah,
the English team are staying home, so they're a little thin, missing a couple of starters. Ireland's at home. Can they give them a run? Can they?
I
Can
don't
they
know.
play?
I think
Come
we
on,
should call
play a
call
draw. Come
Connor
on.
Larkin. Call Connor Larkin and Seamus O'Neill and meet him at the Bully House. And
We,
anybody else that's Red
oh, no,
Trinity, they know what
the
I'm
draw
talking about.
the draw is not as big a price in the Ireland England game as it is in the Serbia Spain game. So come on.
If
You
we
only
can,
got to win one of them, and you don't have to bet a lot because you're getting a nice plus over 300 on both games. So I
well, my
think
blood will be running strong during that game. But I do like your Serbia bet. I did watch them in the World Cup. They have a tough team. So, folks, look that over. Dave and Jay's pick is Serbia, Spain, the draw plus 350, and that's going to happen tomorrow.
yeah. And if anybody watching this thinks that we've been a little short on data and a little long on opinion, we're probably going to be bringing in a little bit more as far as trends and stats and stuff like that, just to get going. We just want you guys to, kind of meet us, get a feel for what we're talking about here. But just as an example, I was looking at what I thought was a little interesting, in that a straight set victory for a female tennis player is shorter odds than winning the match 2-1. And I'm assuming that that's because they figure if somebody has the upper hand and is just playing better than the other person, they have a better chance of just winning 2 sets, as opposed to, hey, they lost one of the sets, so it must be a relatively evenly matched, an even match. So anyway, I started to look into this.
Yes.
Yeah, to find out, oh, this is interesting statistical, what I thought was an anomaly.
And you're mentioning this because of the 2-set bet, correct?
Yeah, because you get lower odds on straight sets than you do winning 2 out of 3. But when you think about it a little deeper, it does make sense.
Look at your win today. You took Jessica Pegula and you took it in 2 sets.
I didn't
she
take
was the
I just
dog.
took her on the money line. Yeah, I just
Okay, you took her on the money line. Great. But here's if you just go through all the most of the games, wow, I didn't see the gal from China. She did come back, and Christina won it in 3 sets. It's going to be a great final. Any idea with the women? I think Pegula, she's going to be an outsider. Or are you just basically playing the contrarian or the dogs? You've been doing very well with the dogs in the U.S. Open.
Looking for people who were playing well and getting a price.
You're looking for value.
I'm never going to lay the wood. The only way you can do that really is if you decide to pick the sets. Then you can turn a pretty decent favorite into either an even money proposition if
Right.
you take straight sets, or if you say that you think they're going to win it 2-1, you actually turn them into a fairly decent dog. But in trying to understand why these odds were, being laid out the way they were on tennis, I found an article. This is how deep we're willing to get into it, folks. So if anybody wants to have a little bit of chat, as far as like if you found something interesting as far as data goes, something like that, hey, we're all ears, because the title of the article that I found was a longitudinal analysis of the differential performances of seeded male and female Grand Slam tennis players. So if you want to talk numbers and you want to talk math and you want to talk trends and history and everything, hey, we love it. We love this stuff here. And you can barely read the title of the article.
That's like
it's got to be fairly in-depth.
Aristocratic wise guy bet. You like it medium rare. He's an aristocrat.
Yeah. Oh,
I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, we're going to wrap it up. And we want to say thank you. Thank you for tuning in for the Dave and Dave. Give us a like, give us some feedback, give us your comments. And we're going to be back on Tuesday. What we're going to do on Tuesday is wrap up, hopefully discuss our winners, check the bankroll, and then attack. Tora, tora, tora. We're going in for Thursday's card and going to knock off through the weekend. So, Dave, any parting words of wisdom?
No, just everybody out there, may all your bets be winning ones, unless you're on the other side of my game. And we're going to talk to you next week. We're going to have some more good stuff for you.
All right, Daver. We'll see you soon, lads. Try to keep try to keep yourself out of 5 points.
I got to read this article about the longitudinal analysis.
I thought you were pulling some kind of Aaron Rodgers stuff with that in the mushrooms thing, but all right, I'll leave that up to you, and we will talk to you about that. All right, this is Dave and Dave Miami signing out.
This is Dave and Dave Jersey signing off.